One of these days, you'll wake up, check your phone, flip through a newspaper, or hear it from a friend. Phil Robertson has died. Some will mourn, some might smile, but very few will understand what Phil himself tried so hard to explain before that day ever came. Because according to him, he didn't die. He departed. This isn't just poetic language. For Phil, this is the foundation of everything he believed. And in his final recorded message, he wanted the world to hear it straight from him. Death is not the end. It's just the beginning. One day, you're going to pick up a newspaper or look on that little black box and it's going to say Phil Robertson has died. But just remember this, I didn't pass away. Old Phil just started on his eternal trip to be with God forever. He spoke these words not out of fear, but with peace, with clarity, with conviction. Phil Robertson, the bearded patriarch of Duck Dynasty, always stood firm in his beliefs. But in this final message, he wasn't talking about hunting, family drama, or politics. He was talking about eternity. And what really happens when this life ends, the tent that won't last. To explain his faith, Phil used a simple metaphor. Your body is a tent. It serves a purpose for a little while. It shelters you, gives you a place to rest, maybe even some adventures. But eventually, tents wear out. You put it up in the woods and camp out. It's your little bitty house, but it rots, it blows away, it won't last. And that's what our bodies are like. He didn't say this to scare you. He said it to wake you up. Because if you think this is all there is, this fragile temporary existence, then you're missing the whole point. Now we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, an eternal house in heaven not built by human hands. That's from Scripture. And Phil believed every word. We groan for something more. Phil knew the feeling we all experience but rarely understand. The ache, the longing, the quiet dread of time slipping away. He called it groaning. Not just physical pain, but soul-deep yearning. While we are in this tent, we groan, longing to be clothed with our heavenly dwelling. What he meant was this: your spirit knows this isn't home. You want something more, something permanent, a body that doesn't ache, a heart that doesn't break, a life that doesn't end. And according to Phil, that life is real, but only if you belong to Jesus. Death, the moment you know you made it. Most people fear death. Phil didn't. You're better off when you die because you know you're in heaven. That sentence stopped people in their tracks. It wasn't bravado, it was belief. Phil explained that when you die, if you're a child of God, that's the moment you realize it was all worth it. The moment when fear, doubt, and pain melt away. You say you made it. That's what physical death gives you. He wasn't romanticizing death. He was revealing what lies beyond it. Body, soul, and spirit. Phil broke down the human being into three parts. The body, which decays, the soul, which feels and chooses, and the spirit, which connects us to God. When we die, the body stays here. It's buried, it fades, but the soul and spirit, they depart. And if you belong to Christ, they go home. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. But here's the part that gave Phil true hope. One day, the body will rise too. He's going to bring me back, resurrect my body, make it a glorified body. We will live with him forever. That's not religion. That's resurrection. The world says one thing, Phil saw another. Phil challenged the modern world's view of life and death. He spoke directly to atheists, skeptics, and those who believe we're just matter with no meaning. Is there a supernatural world out there, or are we just globs of molecules that came out of the ocean? He knew the popular narrative, but he didn't buy it. God made us for this very purpose. He has given us the Spirit as a deposit, guaranteeing what is to come. That deposit is like a down payment, a promise of what's next. Something the world can't see, but Phil believed with all his heart. Judgment is real, and so is hope. Phil wasn't trying to scare people. But he also didn't hold back. We must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ. Everyone. No one is exempt. But that didn't make him anxious, because he knew who his judge was, and he trusted him. He also knew that many weren't ready. That's why he shared this message. Not for fame, not for followers, but for you. So that maybe, just maybe, when the time comes for your departure, you won't be afraid either. The last thing he wanted you to remember, just remember this: I didn't pass away. Old Phil just started his eternal trip. That's the final note he left behind, and maybe the most important thing he ever said. Phil Robertson lived loud, loved deeply, and believed fully. But in the end, what mattered most to him wasn't duck calls or reality shows. It was eternity. And now, whether you agree with him or not, you have to ask yourself the question he left behind. What happens when your tent gives out? Where will you go when it's time to depart? Because for Phil, that answer was clear. He didn't die. He just went home.